the conditional visibility is a designer's component available in all designers, the page designer, the reader designer, the search designer, and the header designer. It is a component in which you can create rules and draw other components that will be displayed or not, depending on the rules that you have defined. So with conditional visibility in the page designer, you can dynamically display elements based on specific criteria. By combining multiple criteria, multiple rules, you can create even more tailored and flexible conditions for your content. Let's have a look to the type of rules that you can use. It's just the one after, if I remember well. No, it's okay. We have different type of rules that can be based on user authentication. You show or you hide content based on whether a user is logged in or not. You can base rules on role and tags, which are user-based capabilities. You can also base rules on content metadata to adapt what is displayed on the content. You can also use the language settings, present specific items based on the user's interface or the content language preferences. Both are possible. And you have at least another capability type of rules that you can define, which is if there or not an empty search page, the idea being here to be able to give advices or tips to your end users when they are facing a no result page. Now I have to make a focus on two important concepts that we use in this showcase, which are security versus visibility. In other words, what is access rules to the content and what is exactly conditional visibility. It's really important to understand the difference between both because of security about your content. Treat Topics is a web application which implies that displaying a page has two sides. The server side, which is Treat Topics, and the client side, which is the browser that your end user is using. The server side decides what will be sent to the browser as content for display. And on the client side, on the browser side, it's possible to decide what is displayed among what is sent by the server. So that means that it's possible to hide some parts, but it's only hiding. So access rules are based on user groups and they are applied on server side, which means that if something is protected, it is never sent by the server to the browser. That means that is, in this case, the content is clearly secured. Conditional visibility is applied on browser side. That means that the whole visible content is sent and the part of this visible content is hidden by the browser based on the rules that you have defined. That means that conditional visibility is only hiding a part of the content. So we never advise to apply conditional visibility to a real secure content. To protect really a content from any risk of hacking, you need to use an access rule based on user group. Now let's focus on the next slide, which is the three types of user metadata that you will be able to define for a user. We have three types of metadata: the role, which is a set of administrative and feature permissions, for example, feedback user, beta user, analytics user, admin. all of you as admin know that you can assign specific role to your user by default or not. You have also the access group, which are assigned to user to build the access right. If you want to protect a part of your content or your whole content, you have to use the access groups. And for security reasons, the group must remain internal into FT. That means that the group cannot be public. That's why conditional visibility is not based on the group. It's based on another metadata that we have introduced a few weeks ago, now maybe at the beginning of the year, which is the user tag. The user tag is assigned to user to enable the conditional visibility. The user tag is accessible outside the server. It can be used by the browser to define the conditional visibility. But we advise you not to use the same value for the tags and for the group if you want to protect some content, just not to give any information to a potential hacker that could try to use this kind of information to imagine what are the groups that can be assigned to your users. That's the end of this part of the introduction. Now let's dig more in details with Karim.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Guillaume. So I will start this demo by showing you what are exactly a conditional visibility component, demoing you a visibility component indeed, and then I will show you how you can display content based on, how you can use content or metadata based conditional display. Okay, so let's focus first on what is this component. I will create a new custom page. I will call it demo, just to show you how it looks like. So here I have my demo page, which is a blank page, obviously. And here I have my conditional visibility component. So I'm going to drag and drop my visibility component into my design. So now I have this element here where I can add something. Okay, let's add, I don't know, an image, for instance. Okay, it could have been the username, I don't know, any button, anything. So basically what I want to do now is to create a rule so that image gets displayed only based on certain criteria. So basically here I am selecting the conditional visibility component itself, which includes my image, okay? And on my visibility component here, I can define several sets of rules. The rule that you can define here depends on certain context. So for instance, here I am creating a custom page. So in this case, I don't have a search context since I am not editing a search result or a reader, but here I do have access to those rules. So authentication, is the user authenticated or not? What is the language interface? For instance, is the UI locale in English, in French, and so on? The network status is fluid topics in online mode, offline mode. The user roles, which are admin and so on, and the user tags, which is something I will come back later at the end of the demo. But basically, tags are just tags that you can assign to users so you can retrieve them later. So the only specificity of that tags is they are coming from the profile mapper. So I will show you that. So basically here I'm just creating a rule. Let's say I want to display this image only if the user is authenticated. Okay, so the user is authenticated here, add rule. So now my image will be displayed only if the user is authenticated. Okay, I could have used another one, for instance, display. So the rule would be roles contain, and here the admin would be, the value would be admin. So basically here, if the user is authenticated or if the user contains admin, which basically is kind of stupid, because basically any admin would be authenticated, but basically that's the kind of rule you can create. If the interface language is, let's say, French, okay, so let's remove this one. So if the interface language is French or if the user is admin, this image would be displayed. Okay, so that's typically the rule that you can create. Okay, I will come back on this later, but I just wanted to show you how you can create rules and how you can build, yeah, different set of rules to match your needs. Now let's focus on one specific use case that we had several times. Let's discuss this. Basically, when authoring a search, when designing a search result, here I have my search result. Here I have something that exists, which is also somehow conditional visibility, because in the search result, for each type of result that you have here, based on the metadata of the result. Okay, so here it's a book, here it's an article, here it is an unstructured document, and so on. You can decide what is the template that will be used. Okay, so if I come back here I have my design, and here I have my result template. So basically, my design based on rule will design my search template based on rule will design for each result what is the subset of the template that must be used. Okay, so let's get back here. Let's get back to my search result. Here I've created rules. So basically, the rule is like this. If the result type is unstructured document, use a template here named default unstructured documents. If the result type is a book or a map, use default. Article, same thing. A topic, same thing. Okay. As a result here, basically, when displaying search, I will use for unstructured documents the default unstructured document template, and otherwise I will use the default result template, which are default template for all except for unstructured documents. Okay, that's number one. Basically, from the search page, I can define which template I want to use based on documents metadata. Here I have done it based on the type of the result, but I could have used other metadata. Let's dig a little bit into this one. Another use case that we had is the ability to display an icon based in the search result based on the result MIME type. Okay, so here I do have visibility component. Okay, and basically here I have a rule saying if my search result metadata MIME type is PDF, okay, I will display here an icon, and basically this icon will be a file format icon, and here it will be a PDF. Okay, so just so you know how you can retrieve all those values, if you want to do this on your own design, you can just head to components.freetopics.com. Here are documented all the components that we use, and you just hit here icon. And basically here you will have access to all the icons that we provide for the different types of, for the different formats. So if you search in this list here, PDF, you will find that the icon name is PDF. and here you want maybe to search for the others that we have. Okay, so you can recreate this. So here, just look at this information here, enter a PDF, okay, and basically if here my rule, my result type, my result have a MIME type PDF. So if my document is a PDF, then next to the document title that is here, I would display this icon and hide those one. Okay, so let's see the result now. Here I'm going to search for content, and as you can see here, I have an icon for books. But now if I filter on the source, and now I display instructor documents, here I am displaying the icon PDF. Okay, that's one. I believe this one needs to go. Okay, next. Okay, for the reader now, we can do the same thing. So as you know, when displaying a publication, you can create a design, but you can also create several reader design based on the content, and you can decide which reader will be used based on the content itself. Okay, so you can have metadata driven reader display based on rules. So basically, if you go to the admin, okay, below portal reader page, here you will have a tab designer designed interface, and here you can define what is the reader used in which case. Okay, so here as a demo, I have a default rule, which is the second one. The default rules say use the default reader, and the first rule here tells me if my document type is an article, then use the reader article. So if I go back here, you can see that I have my default reader and my reader article. My reader article is a bit different, okay, because here I do have a table of content, which is something I don't want on an article, okay, because of the structure of my content. I want to get rid of the table of content. So to do so, I've just duplicated here my design and removed the table of content, but also I created this rule that will map each reader with a type of content. So a user browsing the content now would be able to see the default reader if the publication is a book, and if the publication is an article, okay. So let's filter for an article. Here, then I don't have my table of content anymore. Okay, so that's just a demo of what you can do and how you can select a router based on content. So earlier we did search result. So based on a result, I can select a subset and a template chunk that would display results based on the metadata of the result. But I can also show a different reader based on the document itself. Okay. There is more. Indeed, if I go back to my reader, as you can see here, I do have, just like I did for the search result, where I had my default result for any type of content except for the instructor document, for which I have a specific one. For the reader, you can also have several kind of topics, okay, of templates for each topic. Okay, so based on the type of the topic or the metadata of the topic, you can say, okay, I want to use this template or this template or this template. And to leverage those templates, you have also here the ability to select rules, okay, and to define what is the topic that must be used, okay. That's also something that you can do. Finally, something that existed a long time ago before we introduced the designer, but I guess this is a good opportunity to remind you of this. You have the ability to configure the way the documents get paginated. Okay, you all know that free topics by default use infinite scrolling. Okay, so basically, you can read the documents almost like you would read the PDFs, meaning that you can scroll from the top to the bottom. But also sometimes you want to display prev next. Okay, so I think I do have an example here of a prev next. So here I do have here the ability to view my content page by page. Okay, this is something that you are in control of in the admin. You can go to here in Portal Reader tab General, and here you can create rules, and those rules are also metadata driven. Okay, so for instance, here I've created a very simple rule. So if I will apply pagination at level 1, if my document title is DroneLift API, okay, I could have used a more broader rule. Okay, so here I'm going to configure one that is custom pagination split at level 2 with metadata requirements. For instance, if ft locale, okay, is French. So any French documents will have this pagination. Okay, of course, I could have used something else. For instance, here drone type. So if my product, basically drone type has to be seen as product. So if my product is heavy shipper, I will display the documentation like this, and so on and so on and so on. So leveraging metadata that makes sense in your case to define exactly how the document should look like. And you can select here one example matching these rules that you have applied, and basically you can just change the settings and see immediately before saying, have access to a preview on how the document would be displayed dynamically, okay, which makes this feature very convenient to use. So that was for the first part related to the content itself. So quick reminder here, you can define different templates that you can use and leverage each template based on the document, on the content itself. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the conditional visibility, but with rules based on the user itself. Okay. Earlier in this demo, I've shown you this this component, the visibility component, and I've shown you how it works, how you can create rules. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to show you some example in this demo. So the first one, let's get back to the search page. Okay, so in the search page, if I go to my search result here, a common use case that we have is for admin. Admins want to see some metadata. They don't wish to let end users to have access to. Okay, they want to see filters, not metadata, filters, facets that they want to keep for themselves. Okay, so for instance, they want to be able to see the format. Okay, often format is not something that you want to offer to users because basically it doesn't make sense for them. They want to just to browse the content and have access to their document based on other facets, a document type, a product, and so on, but they don't care about the format. But as an admin, or as a K-Hub admin, I wish to have access maybe to formats so I can better look at my content and see and so on. So here, for instance, we do have a filter which is source content format, okay? Basically this filter here has been protected by a visibility component, okay? And here I have created a rule leveraging roles. So this filter here can be viewed if the user is an admin, K-Hub admin, or a content publisher. Okay. Same goes for this one. Okay. Here I have my editorial type, which is book and article. Okay. And my visibility component, same thing, is for admin, K-Hub admin, and content publisher. Okay. So those two here are viewable, okay? Otherwise they are hidden only if I am basically an admin, okay? Admin, K-Hub admin, and so on. Something that I can also do on the reader is to have a button for displaying metadata, okay? So last time during the previous feature showcase, we talked about custom code and so on. And I've explained that how you can create a custom button to display metadata in the reader. But this button was always displayed without hiding it if a user don't have access to metadata. So basically, how you can do that? You can use also you can use also, and it is missing on this design, so we'll create it together. You can use also a conditional visibility component in which it is shared. Okay, so here I have a shared component, so a good use case. So here I have a shared component, and this shared component is embedding itself the conditional visibility, because this shared component is this shared component is used on this template for the reader article as well as on this one. So here, let's go to shared component. I have my what was his name again? Custom reader. Yes, metadata. This one. So here I have my button, okay, that is hidden using a conditional visibility, and here I also have this rule that say admin, K-Hub admin, or content publisher. Okay, so basically you can put any item, so a filter, a custom component, anything that will match your use case, and decide that it should be displayed if the user is an admin, or hidden if the user is that displayed only if the user is an admin, for instance. Okay. So that's good. That's for admin, non-admin. Another use case that we have also often is basically how you can display and hide button based on the user, if the user is authenticated or not. Okay. So let's take a piece of content. So as you can see here, next to my topic, I have the features that you all know, which are basically here the ability to bookmark, print, so on. Okay. So those buttons, there is an interesting use case if someone is not authenticated. Okay. If it's not authenticated, and to encourage users to create an account or to authenticate themselves, is the ability to use the conditional visibility to display in a specific way those accounts if a user is not authenticated. Okay, because basically out of the box, those buttons would not display if the user is not authenticated. So how you can help user to understand that if they log in, they will be able to have access to more features. So basically you can do that with this conditional visibility. So basically here I do have on my reader topic block with action. Here I do have two blocks basically. I have the regular one if the user is authenticated. Okay, so if the user is authenticated, I will go with the original one where with the default one where I have my action blocks. Okay, remove bookmarks and so on and so on. But what I did here is I duplicated and I copied those icons. So here, if the user is not authenticated, I would just display the icons, okay, to let the user see that there are things, but there are buttons, but you don't have access to them, okay? So I could have done something more fancier with if you click, you can display a message and so on, but I've done something very, very simple for this demo. So here I've just added a color and a pointer to my icon. And now if I take here, if I log out from here, for instance, if I go to the same documentation, now those buttons will display in gray, okay, letting the user that there are actions here he cannot have access to, okay. And now you can do something fun, like if the user wants to click, you just let the user access to the login page or display a message, you are not logged in, please create an account, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so that was for the admin, non-admin. That was for the authentication, not authentication, not authenticated. Sorry. Now I would like to talk about the latest features that we introduced about the that is related to the users, the tags, the user tags. So user tags, everything starts with the profile mapper. Okay, let's go to the profile mapper. In the authentication, as you know, Fluid Topics allow you to manage several authentication realms. Okay, on each realm, you can create a profile mapper script. Okay, even in the internal one. Okay, on the internal one or any realm, basically, you can have access to here this button, Run Configuration Assistant. When you do so, here you are invited to enter a user, okay? So I could have used my own email address. Here it's a user demo account that exists. Here you have access to this profile mapper script, okay? So basically, in a nutshell, this is JavaScript running on the backend, okay? So this is not something that is disclosed in the front end to end users, so that's very safe. And basically here you can create any kinds of rule, even calling third-party API to enrich a user profile. Here I have done something very simple, okay? I have created a very simple code, okay? So let's remove all this and let's start from the very beginning. Basically here we do have from the authentication realm, we do have attributes, okay? So here it's internal realm, but suppose you have access to an IDP, so any SSO, OpenID, SAML2, etc. So here you have attributes coming from the authentication backend that you want to map into the user profile, okay? So basically, I said that you have attributes. So let's enter attributes. Sorry, attributes. So those are attributes. Here I have a, we call it completion, okay? If I enter a dot, attribute dot, here are all the values coming from the authentication backend, okay? So for instance, for this demo, I will use email address, okay? I do have access to the email address of the user, okay? Now I want to add tags to this user based on some rules. Okay, how can I do so? Here I have a user, and I can have access to tags. Okay, tags being a list of values. So I can write something very simple like this. Okay, or I can leverage more advanced rules and say something like, if the email address ends with @demo, okay, so if the user is coming from here, from demo.com being the customer company, okay, then I will add a tag hello. Okay, that's a very simple example. Of course, here I am using the interlarine, so I don't have a lot of attributes. Okay, but in case you are using an IDP, you will have a lot of attributes. So of course you are aware that you can set groups. Groups are being tagged to access rules, as explained by Guillaume in the introduction. But you could have leverage other attributes to create tags. So tags are basically here in my case an attribute in an arbitrary value, okay, that I've set. I have one hello. I could have another one, which is, for instance, bonjour, which is basically French to say hello. So here I have two tags, okay, and okay, done something. And basically here, since the user I'm testing, so user@demo.com, having his email address ending with demo, here this rule triggers, and basically the user tags set to the user are hello and bonjour. And as you can see here, you have access to the result. Okay. So now let's save this rule and see in live what is the result. Okay. So basically, I can do several things. We had a use case, a very interesting use case lately, is when someone from a certain company would connect, then we would display the company name in the header. Okay. So lately we introduced the header designer. And in this case here, what you can do in the header designer is basically just recreate this bar. But here, as you can see, I have here a tag saying hello. So basically here, same thing, I have a conditional visibility component, but this time the conditional visibility is based on user tags. And if the user tag contain hello, which is basically a random company name, I will display the content of this visibility component. Sorry. What I did here in this case is a very simple thing, since I've used a rich text editor, but of course I could have come up with something more advanced, where I could have used a custom component to display the company name based on the user domain, and so on and so on and so on. Okay. Also, another use case we had is basically the ability to display custom links in a web page. Okay, so here I have a default, my default web page that would display on the home page. Sorry, here I have my default home page that would display links to any users, and sometimes for some users, based either on the company or user profiles that you can also remap in tags and so on, we want to have the ability to display something in the page that wouldn't show for other users. Okay, so for instance, here I have duplicated one block, and for the demo, what I did is to display links specifically to a type of users or based on those tags. So what you can do here is go on the home page basically, and just by creating here a visibility component that also say if user tag contain hello, then display this block. Okay, easy. Other results here, if I go to another web page here, I'm not authenticated. Okay, so I don't have access to this link. But if I authenticate as my user demo, now I have access here to this block, and only me. So as you can notice here, since on this portal myself, I am an admin, but I don't have this tag, I can't see the result. Okay, but if I go back here and I say, okay, I want also the user containing admin to be able to see the content. So either tags hello, either role admin. In this case, if I refresh, now I do have access to those links. Okay. And finally, the latest interesting use case we had leveraging the components was on the search page. As you know, in Fluid Topics, you can have facets that are, I will call it flat, and facet leveraging a taxonomy. So basically, you will have something to select, to filter with some kind of a tree where you have a parent-child relationship between values. We had this interesting use case where a company would like to distinguish between beginner's user and advanced user and display tags, filters on the search page based on if the user is a beginner or an expert, if you will, or an advanced user. So basically what we did here on the search result, we just used two metadata, filter for region and for region. And as you can see, this one is flat. Okay, I'm displaying all the countries, where this one is displaying values based on the user tag. Okay, so here if we go to this rule here, conditional visibility, here if the user tags contain hello, so meaning this is my advanced user, I will display this region, okay, this filter, instead of displaying this one. Here what I did, if the user does not contain hello. And this is something that I didn't show until now. You can do negatives, okay? So basically here you can do role, contain, or do not contain a certain value, okay? So that permits expanding a little bit the rules that you can create, okay? So now if the user contain hello, any tag, any random value, any arbitrary value, I will display this filter. Otherwise, I will display this one instead, okay? So as a result, again, my admin user doesn't have hello. So basically, as my admin user, as me, I don't have hello. I have only this flat list of countries as I'm a beginner. But if I take this admin, this demo user, sorry, that is having this hello tag, now what I'm seeing is those regions with this advanced filter. Okay. I guess that's it for the demo.